Okay, good. I said I was open to your conversation, how you had talked about wanting to talk about or have a discussion on sovereignty. And I would really like to hear more about that.
What I have kind of visualized is that when a person is sovereign to themselves, authentic to themselves, true to themselves, that those threads through their higher self to source it's like light that continues to get brighter. And as it gets brighter, as the person is more sovereign, then their path, they have more clarity on their path. So it just came to me, that visual, and I thought, wow, this is very important, not just as we go through our daily lives, but it's important as we go through our daily lives with that connection to source.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. I love this thought and the idea, and I know that earlier I said to you before we switched on the recording that I felt that a lot of this information might come to light more beautifully through you and your stream because you were the one who received, the message about it. Mine, like I described, and part of the reason we've come together was more about some clarification and more discussion on the angelics and that particular light, which we'll talk about perhaps and get to later. But I know that there probably were some experiences that you had this week, and maybe in the last few weeks where it brought to your mind this specific topic, or maybe focused you on it, or made you think about it. Are there any specifics that you remember in conversation or meetings that you've had where this has played a role or come up to you?
I think that it's more of the experiences that have come to me as I have interacted. Some people have come to the forefront in requesting healing work with the energy work that I do. And as they are sharing their stories, I'm seeing where they are experiencing so much outside noise that's adding to the traumas that they are already have experienced and are trying to release. And so as they release that outside noise that comes from everywhere and everyone, then as they become more sovereign to themselves, they have that light that they can use for their own clearing and healing.
Yeah.
So I think it came to light for me because it reminds me of where I used to be. And where I used to be was so susceptible to whatever anybody else had because anybody and everybody was an authority to me. I didn't really have my own thoughts. As a people pleaser, it's like, okay, who do you want me to be? How can I show up so that you will like me, that I'm doing the right thing? But as I have gone through life and grown, I have seen how that has stifled me in my own experience of life. And it took me decades to be around the right people who have supported the whole idea of sovereignty and authenticity, who have supported me in finding my own way, not their way, but they have had the experience and the wisdom to support me in finding myself. And so as I've had these experiences of others, people's experiences in the last few weeks, that reminded me how important that was. And as I was meditating on the whole concept, that's when it came to mind that that is a light stream, and that sovereignty is a light stream that is so, it's subtle but powerful, and it's that thread that continues to build and become more of a column that becomes the light stream that actually is our path, my individual path, your individual path, each individual path. And then as those paths come together, then that's the oneness. So that's the concept of sovereignty and authenticity, the whole concept of being true to yourself, acknowledging the outside noise, but not letting it in, just releasing it back to the energies of where it might be serving so that your energies are yours. So that's kind of what I have to say about it.
Wow, that is so beautiful and such a mirror to us all, because I think that in what you just shared, there's so many of us, maybe not all of us, because some come here with a lot of power and a lot of confidence and a lot of what I would call rogueness to their own essence. And they don't really go through that. But I know that there are so many that I've worked with over the years, and including myself, that come into this world as peacemakers, mediators, and we can call ourselves people pleasers, but I really think it's about whatever deep-seated thing inside of us is calling us to mediate peace, right? In all energies, in all situations, in all struggles. And when there's another part of ourselves, because we're all connected and we're all unified, truly, in source, and I want to compliment you and thank you so much, because every time a particle of our own light, such as yourself or myself or someone else, finds their true sovereignty or authenticity or authenticness, their essence in their own journey, their own experience, it adds to all of us. In other words, you've done it so that I can do it, right? Or you've done it so that I don't have to do it. But I think we all do it. We all have to go through that. But it supports and strengthens that the wholeness, the unity, the unified field, the weave, the strength of source light itself in us, to be able to see how others take that journey and how they express it, how it comes to their consciousness and their awareness. And that was just so beautifully put. I do think that there are so many energies now pushing on us to, I think, to revisit, especially the crystallization of energies that we have within even our soul levels of self, which are kind of coming forward now. A lot of people seem to be revisiting them. I know that I ran into some information lately about this really amazing alignment of the moon and Venus and Saturn that just took place. And it's a very unusual alignment in the newness of the moon, the dark of the moon. And that was a portal that opened that is like one of the most powerful that we've had in, they said, some decades now, maybe even 100 years or so. And it was for that very purpose, to kind of compel us, push, if you will, into this space of releasing everything that's crystallized within our energetic system. So we've seen this sort of sense of disorientation and detachment and sort of floatiness. Some people have described it as kind of empty, that they haven't really even been able to, the fogginess of thought, not being able to focus on a certain thing, but yet be very, very present. And others expressed it as having kind of deja vu, where they feel like they're repeating something over and over and over again in a very big way, and being kind of thrown emotionally into emotional swings with that, not really understanding what they're experiencing. I really don't think that portal was for us to understand. I think that the energies of it are all that we possibly needed to be aware of, because there is a continuation of it. We've had a series of what I would call portals or stargates opening all the way through up until today, and probably through the end of this month. This has been a really, really energetically packed month for us all. And I'm not an astrologer. I am not an expert on any of those things, but I am a feeling body energy, so I feel and sense all of these things. I am made aware. I do follow. I find that I really do believe that we're filtering out a lot aligned with what you're describing, because in order to find our sovereignty and become empowered, to take on our full potential self and stand in that divinity, I think requires that we sift out or filter through or embrace or integrate all of these things. And we've been doing them for some time. But the crystallized patterns and things are held deep within the voids and the dark spaces, if you will, of unconscious and subconscious and cellular and atomic fields that really have not come to the surface, that haven't been pushed all the way out, all the way forward. So some people are looking at their past, they're revisiting things from their future, or they're having hints of puzzles and pieces that they've been searching for a long time that might have been pushed off to the side for a very, very long time, and they're starting to come up now too. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now for people. And I've been hearing it in my sessions. It sounds like you've been hearing it in yours and from people that you've been encountering, coming into relationship with. And it just seems like a really powerful and magical time that we're being asked, expected, I don't think there's even a choice anymore, because our soul has already made that choice for us. It's just revealing it to us. And maybe hearing that we've talked about, this specific time that we're experiencing might help others to be aware of it and also kind of let go of it at the same time, because it is a time of letting go, to just acknowledge, see, feel, experience whatever it is that's happening, what's going on, but not try to attach yourself to it or understand it. Just sort of let it ride through, right? And we'll arrive there.
Do you think that so many people are experiencing some physical challenges because the physical body also has to adapt to these new energies?
Mm-hmm. I think it's especially the physical body, because that is where things crystallize, right?
Right.
Yeah. Right. So within that, whether it's consciousness or it's the physical field, right? Your physical bodies. I do think it is in that realm, because that's the final frontier, right? It's spiritualizing matter. It's heaven to earth. It's all of that essence of you coming in powerfully into your beingness. And it rocks you. And what is required, I'm not going to say I believe that word. What is required, I sense, is staying centered in the chaos, because we are still in a field that is highly polarized. We're in a chaotic field right now. And that is kind of what I think you might have been describing with the people that are coming to you, where they're feeling caught up in so much of that. And it's not just people who may be unconscious or not quite that evolved yet. And I don't mean evolved, but maybe awakened yet, aware. Maybe they're not fully aligned with the kind of things we're interested in or whatever, but they're still feeling it. They're still getting caught up. They're still sensing it and not understanding why it's, taking them for such a ride. It's easy even for beings such as ourselves to get, because I've run into a lot of us who are caught up in these experiences as well, analyzing them, discerning them, because it sort of offends everything within us that there's no peace, right? There's no healing field, but there is. And that's what we're being asked to find within ourselves, is what you described earlier, that light, that source, that unified field in us to keep us centered, to keep us grounded, to hold fast to it and not allow ourselves to rock in the chaos up one side or down the other. Because if you go all the way up one side, you're going to swing back on the other side. So the only way to get yourself through this in one piece and sane and maybe even alive is to stay as centered in all of the chaos as we can possibly be.
I was thinking about my own experiences in the last couple of weeks of how busy I am with the different situations, people that come to my attention. And I just have my hands in so many different places. And when I got your email last night, it's like, oh, what a nice opportunity, because the first thought that came to mind is when we come together like this, I am fully centered in what we are here to accomplish. But then my next thought was that is interwoven in all of my experiences, because I do not veer from that. That is that energy that I have accepted, that is part of me. And so that's what I try to share with people I love who don't understand why and how other people experiences and choices are what they are. It's like no matter who we are on our own individual path as we are doing what we know to do in the moment. And none of us are here to judge another person. We are here to support a person in their own path as they make their choices, because it's perfect for them. It might not be what I would consider perfect for me, but I admire and appreciate where a person's identity is and what their goals are and how they are going through their experiences, their learning opportunities for their own soul.
Yeah. That is so beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if that isn't holding unconditional love, I don't know what is. Because it is non-judgment. I mean, it's important as I see it to discern situations, because I expressed to somebody this week that knowledge is power, and it is. However, we're still unlocking and opening that knowledge in our own field, because it's about us, right, and our relationship to everything. So discernment isn't on another person. It's not even about another individual. It's about discerning what resonates in our light and doesn't. And it's us that are coming to awareness of even greater and greater parts of ourself, expanding and expanding and expanding in love. And so the awareness, I think a lot of people misinterpret that when you talk about discerning things, because the humanness of us, always our minds, our egoic selves, and the brain itself is really kind of set to dissect things, right? It's all about separation because it's about interpreting. It's about tagging. It's about identifying. It's about all of those things take on a certain energy of separating out you from something else, because it then identifies your relationship to something else. But when we're discerning, it's really an internal motion or movement, because it's about self-awareness. It's about how we identify ourselves with everything else, not how that reflects on whether it's good or bad or right or wrong or whatever. So I think that's an important distinction to bring up to people, because it is I think it's a good tool. It has to be a tool in the worlds that we find ourselves in and the journeys that we have. Otherwise, we wouldn't experience, we couldn't learn. You know, we wouldn't be able to have internal growth and expansion. So, yeah, well said. I think that, you know, everything the way that you've expressed it and put it is certainly beneficial and will help an awful lot of people understand a portion of their journey and their path here and what might be taking place right now. Because I know also from my past experiences in this world and many others that we usually kind of take those steps and journey ahead of others, that they're always beings that do the first steps. They're always pioneers. There's always those that take them before others do. And I know for myself that I can never bring anything forth or teach anything or share anything until I've actually walked it. So it has to arrive in me. I have to experience it. It's got to seat here, settle here, before it shows up, right, in your consciousness, because you can never be anywhere you're not. So how can you be aware of teaching or sharing something if you haven't had an awareness of it already?
One of the themes that you have always had since I've known you is there's nothing but love. And love shows up in so many different ways. And I know when I'm giving our cat a back rub, I just keep telling him, nothing but love, nothing but love, nothing but love. but then that is the theme that you have shared for everybody, is the truly nothing but love. Love is source energy. That is what is everywhere. And as we have a conscious awareness of that being the fuel for absolutely thoughts, words, and actions, absolutely everything we see, think, do, the world is a brighter place.
Oh, it is, because of love, the realization, the reflection, the embrace, the blessing, the knowing that love is all there is. Also that it's so much more than we comprehend, because to use that word is so insufficient, really,
limiting.
to what love. Yeah. And the beauty of it, though, like you're expressing, the beauty and simplicity of that is that we get the pleasure and the joy of experiencing every single nuance and aspect and particle of that overlight, that that isness of love through all of us, because every single one of us is on a journey of love. Every one of us is love on its journey and its expression and its evolution, its expansion. And it contributes to, again, the wholeness, the oneness, the unity, so that we can all enjoy and embrace everything, the depth and the, there's a word I'm searching for, but it just doesn't seem sufficient. The embrace of us, of our true light, of what we really are, and it being the only thing, the only power, the only expression that is real, is true. So, yeah, I mean, at least that's my truth. As I see it, and if it doesn't resonate with others, then they're free to just throw that out until it does slap them in the face, until it is their own truth, because it's really the indelible constant. There is no destroying it. That's what we are. It's eternal.
And I know, I think I've mentioned this before, but when I see somebody and they are struggling and I see the beauty of who they are, and I just remind them, if you could see yourself through my eyes, then you would understand how great you are, how beautiful you are, how loved you are.
Yes. And the greatest gift you give them. I mean, the greatest gift we could give to each other is to hold that vision, to hold that, the highest sight of them, because especially through those times when they can't hold it for themselves. So you are truly a gift and a light, and everyone who is able to do that. It's the embodiment of mercy, of compassion, of gratitude, of empathy, of giving, of surrender. There's every single thing that you would ever want or need to be shown yourself is embodied in our ability to be that love, to embrace it, to hold it within our own self, our own bodies, our own minds and souls for others, even while they can't. And especially why they can't, they can't, because that's the time they most need it. And to hold that so firmly that they can see, hopefully, begin to see that light in themselves through you, that reflection. There's no other way that people or beings or the experience of any of our journeys, our experiences, can be raised, can come out of the shadow, can lift themselves up, can heal themselves or become all that they can be, unless we can hold the vision of that so that it can take it on.
I don't know if this is as good a time as any to go into our topic of angels.
Oh, well, I don't know that I want to embrace the entire subject, so we'll just kind of see what happens, I guess. But I do feel that I wanted to make a note of some of the experience that came to me this week and last week around angels. I know that you and I, and for everyone who might come across this recording and listen, that we've released some talk or discussion around the angelic kingdoms already. I'm not sure where to begin with this. Maybe I would like to stay. Do you have a suggestion on how to begin? Are you sensing anything?
The thoughts that came to mind with this topic are that the angelic beings are it's like they're light beings. We tend to humanize things that our brain can understand as it's humanized. And so if we take away the humanization of a visual, for example, St. Michael. St. Michael is a powerful light being, if we can imagine that. And the same thing with the angelic beings, is my understanding. And as oh, go ahead.
No, well, yes, that before I forget, I think, so what happened, okay, and I'll address it that way. I happened to come across, as I often do, there are lots of beautiful speakers that I've been following since like the late 80s and through the 90s, when a lot of them, and they really are sort of a core now of most of the metaphysical, new age, spiritual world that's out there, and a lot of them have been talking for quite a long time in an arena that is studying things like near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, aliens, ETs, UFOs, all of that kind of stuff. So I tap in every now and then just to kind of have an overview of where consciousness is moving, and I can use a lot of that imagery to kind of help me know where they're sort of going with a lot of these concepts and thoughts and projections. And I recently came across several, and I've noticed that this has become, over the last few decades, it's become more and more a popular concept or thought, or well received by certain ones in the world right now, that they're coming into a place where they want to identify the angelic kingdom as aliens, as ETs, all of the experiences that have taken place with them. And you sort of were alluding to that in the beginning about this differentiation of light and physical, spirit and matter, those kind of things. And I know that we still have not released a conversation on why I know some of these things, and that my experience is different with this than many others' experience is, and how that came to be, and why I feel so. So I'm just going to say it for the first time that I've ever said it, because I've been being asked to. Why I am kind of an authority on this subject, and it's because I've physically, consciously experienced in that realm. I've experienced many dimensions and spaces in light and matter at the same time with my husband, the two of us at the same time, and have identified what a lot of these creations and experiences are. And we may have to edit all this, I don't know, but hopefully not. So I've been asked to speak on this, and actually not even asked, I've been compelled, because when I heard them identify angelic experiences as ETs, there was something in me that just had to speak and correct this. as far as I see it, as far as my experience with this has been. And in the experience I've had with it, in this waking, unsolicited experience of being met with that kingdom itself, of experiencing the myriads of angelic light beings that came unto my husband and myself and took us with them into journeys of travel and dimensional spaces and time. I also interacted with the earth as them behind the veil and came and went from it unseen, unnoticed, unexperienced, completely and totally. What I think I want to say up front is that I know that they are not the same thing, that they are both real, that the ETs do exist and are here, and that many of them possibly in history and in experiences and in books that we've had and visitations and sightings and experiences with human beings, even interactions maybe in ancient history, have come as physical experiences to humans, and perhaps have been misidentified, perhaps have been just assumed to be angels, and they allowed that to happen. What I can tell you is that angels are pure light. They can show themselves in a gossamer type experience temporarily. They're a temporal, maybe, light experience, but they are not physical. They've never been physical. They never will be physical. In any readings or writings or materials that have ever been given on angels supposedly fallen, angels taking humans, taking physical form, walking among us, no. They walk within a field of light within our world, but they are not in it. Now, they can come into it, like I said, as a temporal thing, and it's kind of like a trick on your mind, sort of like ETs can do too, because they can use your temporal vision for you to see things. But they're not form. They're pure light. They're like electric light, and they can show themselves as a form, but they're not. They never are physical. So I don't sense, I think the reason that I've been sort of pushed to start to talk about this, and it's been difficult for me because I've had trouble embracing the authority that I have to talk about this subject, because on one level I was it, I experienced it, I interacted with the earth plane as them. I was with them, and my husband and I both as one consciousness, but not form. And that is how they function, how they operate. For one thing, I know they don't have free will, because there was no sense of that either. I know that there are people who think that they do, and in order to have some of the experiences people claim happened, things that took place, things that they were told or given, or on and on and on. No. I do know that they can interface through certain experiences, like they can assist you. They can whisper messages into certain parts of your mind. They can guide you. They can spare you. They can move with energies certain things in order to keep you safe, to help you, but they cannot interfere. They can never, ever, ever come into your life without your invocation to them to come and to work with you or to help you or talk to you or achieve certain things. So you can have a relationship with them. There was one experience that my husband and I had when we were visiting the Earth at one particular time, because there were many, many, many back and forths to this experience. And where there was one being that did see us. Now, whether it had special gifts, I don't know, but he was talking to us, looking directly at us like he could see us while we were going about work on the Earth plane. And that stunned us a little bit because nothing and no one had up until that point. So anyway, just that being said, we were surprised because we knew that we weren't formed. So what it was seeing and sensing was interesting. Just like some people say they can see the vibrations or they've had encounters with angels, just like my husband and I did. That portal, that dimension opened up unsolicited and uninvited, and they ascended upon us. And we had a true living experience with many realms, and with them especially. So I did see lots of different classes and hierarchies of them, lots of different forms of other beings. I did see ETs that were very, very physical and real, thousands of them in their crafts that left the Earth all at once. There was a lot of, so I'm sharing because it wasn't myself alone. It was my partner in life who is not involved in the things that I'm involved in. It doesn't study, doesn't do any of these things, just simply is pretty, centered and marvelous and real, authentic in his own self as to who he is. So it was remarkable that we had it. It was a remarkable gift, and it was 30 years ago, and I'm very pleased that after all this time, I'm finding a way that it might be helpful to people here to understand that all of these things can be true at the same time. But for some reason, there seems to be an energy or a movement or some kind of rift in consciousness and information trying to come into this earth plane to lure people away or guide them away. And it may be well intended. I'm sure it isn't malicious, perhaps. And that realm or that spirit light, that pure, non-material, non-physical, has nothing to do with the material universes or realities or dimensions or any of it, exists as well as all of that does. And I have to be honest with you that before that experience, I could not have been that certain or told you that I 1,100,000,000% believed that either. That I wasn't open to and entertain the possibility that they might not be, what we think that they are. But the difference is that I know how ETs behave. I know how humans behave. I know how extraterrestrials behave. I understand how physical beings behave. These energies are not that. They don't interact with anything that way. It isn't there. I don't know if that makes any sense. So stop me. I don't know.
I'm guessing the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Can you just tap into that feeling right now?
Which feeling? Of being them?
Of being in with them in the angelic kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's easy for me to do. I wasn't with them the whole time. This is the other thing. The other thing is that there was a a relationship of just being pure consciousness and being stationary, so that souls, we were actually participating as gateways for souls that were coming and leaving the earth as well. And they would come up to us and through us. So in some way, I mean, like I said, the experience that we had when the angels opened, when this portal, this space opened in the room with us, and they descended or ascended upon us and then took us. We were taken awake, conscious. We were still in our room talking to each other. We were experiencing with them and whatever light speed travels it was back and forth to this planet. I think it was this planet. It could have been another timeline, but it was this planet. And they did that several times, many times. As soon as we would hit the planet, I would see their lights go off about their business, and we went about ours. And it was, and then all of a sudden, when that was complete, we would find ourselves just whooshed or whisked back up into the space of pure consciousness again, where we were stationary again, and we would watch the souls leave the planet like lights at first, coming to us, and my husband, his part of him in our singular consciousness would say, lights coming, souls coming now, souls coming. And then all of a sudden they go from white to this gorgeous blue, and these fiery, incredible blue energetic balls, and they would come right through us and break into color, beautiful colors just spiraling around in light and space and whatever creation for a while, and find the others that were like them, and then off they would just go to wherever they go, I guess their next evolutionary place. And then it would all start again. Then the angels would come, and we would find ourselves just, boom, back on the earth, and everything would start over again. So, but from the work the experiences that we were having all over the face of the earth at that time, and all those times we were coming back and forth, the experience of it was we had no conscious or mental sense of having bodies at all. There was no encumbrant, sensation or feeling or even vision, nothing of being that at all. It was simply our consciousness talking to each other about what we were seeing, witnessing, inventorying, taking note of. So
it's not unusual
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that was my curiosity. Is I find words limiting, so you may not have the words to describe the sensations of the pure consciousness compared to the angelic presence, compared to you as pure consciousness.
Yeah. What's funny is when we were traveling with them, I would say it's kind of like a oneness. When we were in their field as them, I'm assuming, because I don't know what else it could have been, but we were about the work, I guess, that they were all doing, although we didn't talk to one another, we didn't interact that way. It was like a oneness of thought, a singularity. And, like when you work in a harmonious way with people, all of a sudden, you don't have to tell people around you. You've got like this sync. You're in sync with people, and you're working really well together, and you just know. And there was a knowing. We didn't take direction or order. We didn't have any thoughts about anything. We were just about the moment, about doing what it is had right before us, what we were doing. I don't know how it arrived. I don't know why it was there. I don't know why we were doing it. I especially didn't know at the time. And it's taken me all these years to start putting some pieces together about why that was gifted us, why we had that experience, what significance did it carry, and what I was going to ever be called to use it for. So I never really did. You know, we just held it to ourselves as a precious gift. Although I told everyone I ever came. I mean, how can you not? It was just like, you know, I was just trying to find anybody who might ever have had the same experience. And no. So there's been, I just had to say it. It felt like the time was slipping away, that we're on this tipping point of consciousness where there's something so, I mean, that is more real and that was a million, billion times more real than this experience will ever be. It was totally alive. You could taste the livingness of the reality that was experienced in that light as opposed to what it is here. And for that, it just feels like that slipping away from humanity. Like in some way, something, energy, something has a different agenda. It's taking that from humankind. It's trying to lure them from. And this has nothing to do, I need to state this too, this is a big bullet point. Never did I experience a religious tone, anything to do with choirs singing. Was there any, doesn't mean that maybe some other people don't experience a part of consciousness where that goes on. I don't know, and I will never be the judge of that. I can tell you that that was not our experience, and it didn't have any connotations religiously at all. The angels are not connected to that. A doctrine, a belief, anyone's, period. So now there may be other gods, other beings, other things out there, although there was never ever a thought of that came to us either. Not about a creator, not about, it just everything was. It was ordered, it was logical, it was already, it was like one mind, although the universe was so diverse, was incredibly, creation was amazingly diverse. And we encountered lots and lots of different planes and beings and creations and lights and all kinds of experiences, but it had a singular, like we were talking about at the very beginning of this, to kind of pull it all together. It had a singularity to it. It had a single unified oneness, knowingness, single mind. And nothing questioned the other. It just all went about its work. It all functioned and expressed. And again, as you were saying, because, you know, everything images and pictures from source to here, right? We're just reflections of all of that in its vastness. So each of us taking our own journeys and looking like we aspect out or we particleize out or that we're separate or different from each other. And that may be. Here, we do all think differently. There is nothing like that. There is a peace, a stillness, a knowing, no questions, no thoughts, really, except, well, I can't say there weren't thoughts. I had a few thoughts. I had a few surprises in consciousness where I was asking, being aware, overseeing something and thought, how is that happening? So I had a curiosity about it, no judgment. It was interesting to experience from that space. You just an allowing. I guess that's the word. Allowing everything to be as it was. And knowing it is perfect.
Do you think that these energies that you have already identified coming in through the continuous portals that we've been experiencing on the earth is bringing us to the point of having this conversation so that we can really embrace our potential by understanding what you experienced?
You're telling me to be mindful, conscious of saying, I'm working on that. I sense, because I'm asking right now, that what's happening with this journey that we've all chosen to be in and be on, right? This interaction we're having with this particular experience. That it's inevitable, that it is going in that direction, that it will find that it's evolving, moving, awakening. We already know that. I mean, the words have been there. They've been haunting us for a long time, right? Awakening and ascension and all of these things. Let's see. I'm going to start putting quarters in jars. That they are, the energies are assisting us to do that. It's also because we are raising our vibrations, we are waking up, we are, there you go again, expressing higher, in higher frequencies, to be able to access the all that we already are. We already are all of that. It's simply a matter of us, as we've always said, waking up to that, just embracing it. Why it is the human nature to fuss and resist and fight and put distractions and every single thing we can possibly put in our way of that actuality is insane. It really is the definition of insanity. That, however, we are also on a journey that we put ourselves on. Therefore, we should be fully embracing and participating in the journey until we don't need it anymore, until we're on the way back again to home, to where we never left, where we could pull all of ourselves up in that space. And this is particularly, I think, going to address the question that you asked more fully. And that is that what we experienced and were given, what we were shown, what we participated in, I believe and sense is more to do with showing that this just is. That there will come a point within all of our state of awakening, and what I know is true for us is that the gate was love. I know if we hadn't been in such a huge, intense, powerful field, my life partner and myself, in that moment, in love, that there's no way that we would have had any hope of the other realms being able to assist us vibrationally to be able to experience all of ourself. And we all are all of that. Okay? We don't have a corner on this market. This was not something that was special. All right? It was special to us. It was special to us. But I know that it was something that stood out from the moment that I had it as, oh my goodness, I have to help people understand that I'm a simple person. My husband isn't even into this. You know, he doesn't do these things with me. We didn't try. We didn't meditate. We didn't know it was possible. And we didn't work at it. You know, we weren't looking for this. It came upon us at the most inconvenient time when we were absolutely exhausted. All we wanted to do is sleep. And I would say that for most people, that if you're chasing or pursuing an experience, it's more than likely that that experience is going to continue to go further and further away from you. When you are going to have an awakening experience, you could be brushing your teeth. You might be in the shower. Showers are really good places because there's lots of water. A lot of stuff happen and come in the shower. But it's more likely that that will happen because it's not a matter of how much you're trying or how many classes you take or how much you know. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with opening the heart, with opening the portal. Now, in this particular experience, because it's that portal that we opened, and the portal that we opened was specific. There are many portals. There are many kinds of experiences people can have. They can have out of body. They can have astral travel. They can have remote viewing. They can have meditation experiences. They can go through other portals and time and rifts and, on and on and on. There are umpteen, I'm sure infinite numbers of those. But this particular one that we opened through the heart. So that's my work here. It's why I know this energy, why I know what that portal opened. I know where we went. I don't know everywhere we went because we kind of could only hold the energy till the morning, and then we both kind of fell asleep. So I don't remember everything. And I know I don't remember everything. I haven't recalled everything. And so I know I'm going on and on and on about this, but I'm trying with my words to find human words to help paint the picture or the image and give them and you the full measure, maybe to help you feel or sense kind of what I was feeling in this, how powerful, how important coming into your heart is that love. It was definitely the love portal. It was definitely a portal to out of here, to light. It was not to the universe. It was not to a planet. It was not to a solar system. It was not to another group of beings. It was home. It was pure light consciousness. And how? The only thing I can see that played a huge part in it, what else they did to us, I don't know, because I know vibrationally that there were a lot of things we experienced before everything opened up and we could actually be in all those other realms. But up until then, the only thing I could pinpoint was how for 2 days we did nothing but talk about love, love with each other, love there, love in the afterlife, love, we were just in a space. And we were in that phase in our life too. I was very, probably the most centered and aligned, I think, than I have to that point that I've ever been.
I'm appreciating so much your words and explanations, because it's more the energy that is coming out to activate anybody listening to this, because we're not necessarily going to be searching for a similar experience, but just that love frequency at the highest point that we are capable of, to continue to let that grow and to continue to make choices that allow us to reach more of our potential.
Yeah, and the relationships, some of the factors too that I remember weighed heavy in my life at that time was my relationship to nature. My husband and I had let go of all of our worldly possessions. That does not mean other people have to, but for some reason, for us, I think it was like a movement in the space that they were creating for preparation for this experience that we had no knowledge of whatsoever. So there was no clue given to us about it. It was all what preceded, what preluded it. Also the fact that for 4 years I'd been doing ascension work. I'd worked with my DNA, I'd worked with all my chakras. I had done, all of that preliminary stuff was a part of my just everyday regular life. And I can tell you that, again, meditation is not what will save your life. Meditation is life, okay? I don't know how to make that any more powerful to people, but if they're not doing it, they can say whatever they want to, but it's vital. It's absolutely vital. There was this natural connection, and I guess this is where it all started with this conversation, is the sense that I'm having is that, like a lot of speakers and people are out there warning about this AI intelligence, about synthetics, about implants, about, all this kind of stuff that's happening to humans that humans just seem to be walking into naturally. I'm not judging the experience, because if it's what they're supposed to experience, perhaps they will. But there is and I don't get all heated and crazy over people investigating things, and I know that nothing can ever touch your soul, so I know that's also another fearful thing that they put out there, like somebody can, twist up or, something's going to happen to your soul is eternal, nothing's going to happen to your soul. It is sovereign. You want to talk about sovereignty, it is sovereign. And that's what we are. That's what we are. So when you were talking about sovereignty in the very beginning, that is tied into this whole thing, because what we are is our soul. I'm not Robin. I am Robin. And here, for this little sliver of you and I talking in space time and whatever I've journeyed on or thought of myself to be, I've identified as her, but that's not who I am. That's not what I am. It certainly wasn't what I was. In this experience, we're so much more, all of us, than this. And when you embrace that, when you realize, when you recognize it, and it's really difficult to do that until you've actually had an experience, to bring that home to you, it certainly had to be for me. because there's nowhere to file any of this, you know. When I first had my awakening experiences, I had not come anywhere near close to anything like any of this ever. I was as normal a human kid as you could possibly ever bump into. I didn't have weird experiences. I didn't have anything. I didn't talk. I heard, knew, felt I had a companion, like a presence around me always. But I didn't spend any time thinking about that. I didn't have imaginary playmates. I didn't have dark things happen. Talk about a typical oblivious human child. That was me. Just fun-filled, totally, into physical stuff and athletics and earth, and that was me. Until something happened in my life that was out of all of that experience, and my brain just sort of broke. And that's kind of how it felt. It felt like it just all fragmented, broke. And then all of a sudden, there was this whole other light, this whole other world that I sensed was there but didn't know what to do with. This particular experience came 4 years after that first initial event. But for some people, I guess that's what has to happen, And fortunately and blessedly, we're given, the gift of having just a normal human journey for some time. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And the other half of this journey has been wonderful. So, yeah, that experience was quite timely and important. And it's so funny to know that there's 30 years in between that experience and now, because it doesn't feel like it. I've carried it with me. I've talked about it. I've written about it. I've, over and over and over and over and over in my life, it's been with me constantly. So to be able to break a little bit now and insert in a place that I know could take heat, I could be criticized, I can be suspect, I could be questioned, I could be, I just say from my heart and from an experience that I shared with another identically for an entire night, completely and totally conscious and awake, that it was not an ET that took us. It was not induced in some way. And there's an urgency I sense about it. And I thank you so much for being willing to share in this conversation with me, because I feel like it's an important step for my personal self. It's an important step for the mission, an important message to help people who might be teetering, who might be not certain, not sure, and they may still not be because of my testimony or by what I'm saying to you today. They may still not be convinced, and of course, that's understandable, really doesn't make any difference, because I just felt compelled, prompted, asked to speak to this, because there needs to be another voice in this matter, not just this one side that is coming forth saying we've advanced so much, this is what we know it to be now. No, no, that isn't so. It's not true. It isn't accurate, and I know they probably mean well, and with all due respect, no.
I always look for the relevance of whatever is coming through in our conversations, and I agree that the timeliness of this is just perfect for the collective consciousness, because the energy is what I look at or notice, and I just visualize that frequency is going out into the ethers to support and embrace the entire planet. And so I so appreciate you and all you bring forward from Spirit to do that for all of us.
Well, thank you, Betty. I appreciate you so much. And I know that the light does as well. I do hope it serves, that it helps. And like you said, in any case, it's out there. I answered, and here it is. And so perhaps this will make a difference in our journey somehow.
And just to make sure everybody understands that you do have a website, Embracing Source, and people may have questions and want to contact you or contact you for sessions that can help them to really understand their own connection.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be at www.embracingsource.com. And just look for the services page or any other page that's in there. Please feel free to browse. We have a lot of recordings there, Betty and I, that we've done in the past that you might enjoy as well. And I just have to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being so willing to kind of switch roles with me and actually speak on a subject yourself. I feel like this is your coming out party. And I'm delighted, as always, to spend this time with you. Thank you so much.
Well, it's always a pleasure, and I so appreciate everybody who is tuning in at any point on their journey to join us in your own individual way, on your own individual path, as we all share a bigger path